Hello, my name is Damien and welcome to Go Fly Online. In today's video, you'll be learning how to fly a single engine aircraft to a very remote and challenging runway located on the spectacular Lord Howe Island. Lord Howe Island is an isolated volcanic island in the Tasman Sea, situated off the east coast of New South Wales. It is part of New South Wales, Australia, which means you can fly there without a passport or visa. The island is located approximately 315 nautical miles, or 574 kilometres, off the coast of Coffs Harbour. We will be flying this mission in a brand new Sling TSI. The Sling TSI is a four-seater aircraft that has a Rotax 915 IS engine and cruises at 135 knots while burning only 28 litres per hour. The aircraft has an endurance of around 7 hours and is equipped with a Garmin avionics autopilot and a ballistic recovery chute. When conducting a navigation flight, particularly over water, the better prepared and the more planning you do for the flight, the better the odds of a positive outcome for that flight. As we'll be flying for more than 100 nautical miles from land, we are required by law to carry an ELT, that's an emergency locator transmitter, life jackets, a life raft, and survival equipment. If you don't own a life raft or life jacket, you can hire them. While legally you may not have to have an alternate if the weather is above the alternate minima, I personally would not fly to Lord Howe Island unless I had an alternate nominated. The reason for this is simple. The wind on the island, and in particular in close proximity to the runway, can be unpredictable and create severe turbulence even at only 15 knots of wind strength. The Lord Howe Island TAF, or Terminal Area Forecast, while being reliable, the island is situated in an isolated, open marine environment, and the weather can change en route with little or no warning. The other issue is a preceding landing aircraft could have an incident on the runway and close the runway. The ERSA, or En Route Supplement Australia, even stipulates that the Bureau of Meteorology cannot always accurately forecast severe turbulence, so they recommend always having an alternate. For this trip, our alternate will be Coffs Harbour. Lord Howe Island Aerodrome is a non-controlled aerodrome known as a CTAF, that stands for Common Advisory Frequency. Some of the critical information extracted from the ERSA, or En Route Supplement Australia, that is worth noting includes that the runway is approximately 888 metres long, 30 metres wide, and the runway orientation is 1028. Runway 28 has right-hand circuits. Bird hazards exist on runway 28 between September and March. Most importantly, expect moderate to severe mechanical turbulence at low altitude at winds above 12 knots in the south sectors between 120 degrees and 240 degrees, and in the north sector between 320 degrees and 060 degrees. The fact that there is moderate to severe turbulence with winds above 12 knots is a number one reason you need to always have an alternate. We spoke to an airline captain while on the island who advised that some of the worst turbulence is when the wind is above 20 knots from the north, due to the close proximity of the hill just to the north of the runway. The other reason the aerodrome is unique is that when the wind direction is from the south or southeast, the wind can move around both sides of Mount Gower and then reform on the other side of the mountain where the runway is located. This can create completely different wind directions at either ends of the runway. There is an AWIS on the island, that is an automatic weather information service, which is very helpful on determining winds and preferred runway while on descent. The airport is a security controlled airport, and there is plenty of parking on the grass parking area with good tie-down cables available. Also, you will need to organise and pay for a biosecurity check when you arrive at the aerodrome at a cost of around $350. See the URSA for more details. Due to an incoming low pressure system, we were forced to depart a day earlier from Caloundra to Lord Howe Island. As always, with private flying, particularly VFR flights, allow 2 to 3 days either end of your planned trip to change departure dates due weather. This also removes any psychological time pressures from the planned trip. Marcel was the pilot in command for the leg to Coffs and Lord Howe Island. The flight to Coffs was uneventful, and we refueled at Coffs to ensure we had enough fuel to fly direct to Lord Howe Island and conduct 3 approaches or hold for up to 30 minutes, then return to Coffs if required. The planned flight time from Coffs Harbour to Lord Howe Island was 150 minutes.
So we departed about 45 minutes ago. Marcel did a great takeoff and departure from Coffs Harbour. We're now surrounded by ocean. I can't see any land all around us. It's a little bit disconcerting when all you can see is blue on blue with the horizon, but also exciting. Our track to Lord Howe from Coffs is 090, and luckily we've got a bit of a tailwind crosswind, so our ground speed at the moment is about 149 knots, which is great. So our time to Lord Howe will be about 2 hours. Other than that,
Brisbane United 3917 has this radio.
It is true, when you're over ocean, you tend to listen to the engine more and be really mindful of monitoring the engine and the battery and the voltage and the alternator. The good news is the forecast for Lord Howe is looking very promising. Only 8 knots of wind, almost cav okay. You want to add anything?
Basically everything's looking good. We're currently cruising at 9,500 feet. As Damien said, we've got a ground speed of 149 knots, which is fantastic. And we've got a little bit of cloud below us, but we're well above it. So at this stage, everything's looking good for our trip, and we should be there in approximately 1 hour and 38 minutes.
We've got a fuel burn of 27 litres an hour at 148 knot ground speed, which is pretty phenomenal for the Sling TSI.
Airborne.
So another important part of overwater long distance flight is to have one of these, an empty bottle. Mine's got my name on it, Marcel's got one. Nothing worse than busting to go to the toilet and there's nowhere to land. So make sure you got a big enough one and you have your name clearly marked on it so you don't get them confused. We're making our descent a little bit earlier. We have some broken cloud at 2.5 and 3,000 around the island. So we're descending a little bit earlier before we get to that broken cloud to get underneath the cloud base. Our lowest, the mountain range at Lord Howe is about 2,800, so we want to make sure that we're visual well and truly before we get to the island and underneath that cloud base. At the moment we're looking at a runway 10 with maybe a 5 to 8 knot crosswind, but we'll see when we get there.
As we approached the island, we noticed a very intense rain shower moving from the south of the island to the north of the island and heading directly towards the runway. We were both very concerned that we'd be landing as the rain shower hit, so we prepared ourselves for a possible go-round and possible diversion back to Coffs Harbour.
Yeah.
26 knots still on the nose, that's pretty heavy.
Yeah, but...
Oh, there's a crosswind on the yellow flag at the end.
500.
340. Down your way a little bit more to the right.
Yep.
I'm straightening up now. Aileron into wind. More right, rudder. Holding it. for the nose.
Just before that shower hit.
Yep, that was very good timing. Oh, look at that mountain range. My God, that's stunning.
That's incredible.
That is freaking stunning.
Wow.
Once the shower passed, the sun broke through the clouds and we were greeted by a very friendly biosecurity officer and her dog. This took about 10 minutes and luckily they found no vermin in our luggage or aircraft. Due to the strong winds, it is very important you tie the aircraft down securely to the cables provided. The island is so unique. Everywhere you walk, there is a stunning landscape to admire. The southwestern bay is protected by a huge coral reef and has some of the cleanest water I've ever seen. The island is a bushwalking and bird life lovers' paradise. There are so many bushwalks from easy to moderate to advanced skill levels. For more information on the island and accommodation, visit the website listed below.
Welcome back. It's our second day in Lord Howe Island, and Marcel and I have just come out of the airport again just to make sure the aircraft is secured and tied down correctly. I just want to talk about this airfield, and this is a classic example of why prior planning doesn't always work out when flying into Lord Howe Island. The windsock behind me, it's actually 20 gusting 30 today. The forecast was for 15 gusting 20. So being a maritime environment, the forecast isn't always right. We made the right decision by flying in early yesterday. If we had waited for today, which is when we're meant to fly in, we probably wouldn't have got in here. The crosswind exceeds our maximum crosswind on the TSI of 15 knot crosswind. We wouldn't have got in. Even though the forecast said we technically could have, we would have had to turn around and head back to the mainland, which would have been disappointing. So we made the right choice in coming in early. The other issue here is also birds, and we'll get some shots. I can hear birds in the background here. There's a lot of birds just to my left here on the ground. In fact, the whole island is basically a sanctuary for birds. So very important that when landing and taking off that we're mindful of that, and particularly on takeoff we might want to clear the runway, do a backtrack and back again to clear the runway of birds. We'll look at that when we depart. So once again, when planning to fly here, it is a forecast. It isn't always right. As we can see behind me today, although it's not really showing it right now, but it is gusting to 30. And the windsock down the other end of the runway, funny enough, is pointing in about 40 degrees different direction than this windsock here. So mountains behind me, obviously affecting that wind from the south today. So yep, we know the aircraft's secured now, so we can go and enjoy the rest of our small mini break.
There is both avgas and Jet A1 fuel available on the island. There is a number to call in the URSA and give them at least 24 hours notice. Be warned, fuel is expensive at almost 1.5 times the price of mainland fuel. Luckily, the weather was kind on our day of departure. I was a pilot in command for the return flight to Caloundra, and we decided to do a small scenic flight around Ball's Pyramid before we departed. Ball's Pyramid is an ancient volcanic stack that rises 1,800 feet from the ocean and is situated around 16 nautical miles to the southwest of Lord Howe Island and is a spectacular sight. The return to Caloundra was uneventful, with great weather conditions experienced for the remainder of the flight. This was one flying experience I will never forget. However, This is not a trip I would recommend a new recreational or private pilot undertake due to the complexity of the flight and the challenging airfield. If you feel you don't have enough experience, take another more experienced pilot or flight instructor with you. We really hope you enjoyed the video. To help us help you become the best pilot you can be, try our 7-day free trial to get full access to our training videos, quizzes and theory books. Happy and safe flying, and see you next time on Go Fly Online.